Join discord.gg/flatearth and enter a check-in room. Someone will come along and verify you to get involved in the conversation about our Earth.
You can receive it in the skip zone.
Oh, possibly, but I think if there's an area where you'd expect it to go that far, like over water or something, I don't know. I feel like if it was flat, then it wouldn't be a skip zone.
I just explained why there would be at times. I just explained it.
Well, because you said there's like some electronic effect that's stopping the radio waves, I guess.
Topographical obstruction or storms or something, yeah. This is a well-known phenomenon. That's why you can't get a lot of signal during storms.
Unless you like had it so strong, it was like a Navy radar that just like if you stand next to it, it'll just microwave you. It's so strong that you know that it could go that far based on tests, like you know how much it degrades of a certain amount of air, and then even if it is filled with rain clouds and stuff.
Do you understand that if we receive it, it debunks the globe?
If you receive it in the skip zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean though, because there's always things you have to watch out for. Like maybe if it's bouncing off some like other thing. So I get what you mean. Like, yeah, it's all like evidence one way or another.
Yeah, just debunks the globe. I mean, we've already debunked the globe with radio waves, though. So, according to the globe, radio waves bounce off the ionosphere, but only up to 40 megahertz. And anything over 40 megahertz penetrates the ionosphere. And this is because they're like, oh, well, if there's ionization up at a certain level of the air, then it would interact with the wave and reflect it down. But you can show in like experiments that if the frequency is too high, then the ionization will not reflect the wave. So anything over 40 megahertz penetrates the ionosphere, even if it were a real thing. Well, the world record radio transmissions of over, like amateur radio transmission, over 106 megahertz has gone over 2,700 miles. But that can't bounce off the ionosphere because it's 106 megahertz, and that's much higher than 40. You have to receive 2,700 miles away. So that already debunks the globe.
That's a good point. I think that's a good point. Just like the other one you brought up. Yeah, I like it. I like that.
Yeah, there's no rebuttal for that. There's no rebuttal for line of sight microwave transmissions that have a beam divergence of 1 meter at 300 megahertz and then 1 millimeter at 300 gigahertz. So the microwave range is 300 megahertz to 300 gigahertz. At 300 megahertz, it just has a meter diameter, diameter like divergence, and then 1 millimeter at 300 gigahertz. So the military all the time sends out microwaves.
Pinky, you're saying that the signals that are being sent, like the one that Wizard is describing, is being bounced, and that's why it's communicating at the other point, at the skipping zone? I mean...
Yeah, at the other side of the skip zone.
Because if the device is designed for a two-way communication from point A to point B, from device to device, a transmitter to receiver, both of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's 10,000, let's say, 3,000 miles away across the water, across the shore to shore. There's no bouncing anything.
I can send a diagram, but at 3,000 miles, it would be bouncing. You'd have to.
It will have to be bouncing, but there is no bouncing. It's two-way, point to point.
Oh.
Line of sight.
You know what you could do? Maybe you could even, if you still think it's like line of sight going that way, you could maybe have a directional wave that bounces, like that points up at a certain point in the ionosphere. Or you can also maybe do something where you figure out how far the radio wave has traveled using some sort of interferometry. I forgot how to say it. Or
So you're saying that today there
Thank you
are
for
ways there are ways or of doing the communication without the line of sight, right? There's ways to do that, but what I'm saying is that let's say, for example, Marconi from the east of the United States, from New England, they did a two-way communications from that point to Scotland on the west of Europe, right? I mean, not west, east of Europe. I mean, yeah, west, whatever. East. And so from shore to shore, from the United States, east of the United States, and then west of Europe, Scotland, and they were able to communicate. That's over 3,000 miles. And there was a two-point communication that they described it as direct message. And we're talking about 1911 or 1910,
09.
something like that.
1909. Yeah.
1909, yeah.
Or 1901.
And that's one example of many. That's one example of many, because there's another one from New Jersey to Germany. There's another one from England to Australia. And they describe them as direct messages, two-way communication. So, yeah, today we can do it, bounce it off walls or whatever, who knows? But still, it's not, I mean, the globe is impossible to do the two-way communication direct ones on the ball, because there's no bouncing off the air. Like Witsi was saying, the signal is too strong. It's just going to penetrate to the through the ionosphere. There is no bouncing. Unless, I don't know, go ahead. My bad, I spoke for too long. Go ahead, Pinky.
I
Or
don't
Witsi.
think so.
What do you think, Pinky, about the two-way communication over 3,000 miles? What happened there? There was no
I
bouncing.
think that was. I think that was bound. I think that probably was bouncing off the thing.
You think?
Yeah.
You believe?
But there's a way we can. There's a way we can test it, because so they have something called a radar altimeter, so they can figure out the distances that radio waves travel. Yeah,
I wonder if they figured that out with statistics. I wonder if they got all the data and figured that out with statistics, Pinky.
So real quick, Mickey, before we go there, right?
Probably.
Pinky, back then in 1910, do you think they were doing all this advanced stuff that you're talking right now? Or they were sticking to the actual simplicity and reality of things, and they accomplished that they set themselves to do, which is two-way direct message from point A to point B. And they said, mission accomplished. And the disbelievers back then said, no, that's impossible because we live on a ball. And they told them it was not going to work the way the designers of the system said it will, because, you know, of the ball. The ball makes it impossible. But they accomplished the communication, the direct two-way message between long distances, for example, 3,000 miles. So it was impossible on the ball, but since the ball is not reality, therefore, no ball. You got it?
So the thing, this was in 1910, you say?
Yeah, the one I was talking first, it was the first transatlantic radio communication by Marconi from New England to Scotland.
Because the thing is that like radio waves, radar technology in 1910 was not very good at all. Like even at the beginning of World War II, most battleships and stuff didn't have radar. You know, they
but are you addressing the example that Jemty gave you?
Yeah. So to address the exact example he's saying, I like at the time period of 1910, maybe in his in his thing that he wrote or whatever you're referencing, he said direct communicate, like line of sight communication, but maybe
direct message.
Yeah, direct message, but that doesn't mean it's direct line of sight. Maybe he didn't know it bounced off the ionosphere. Maybe he just said direct message, and that's just what he meant.
So, bro, listen. They built an antenna, hundreds of tons of material. It took them a long time to build it. They, at the same time they were building the other one, they built these two things for this exact same purpose, to do a direct message communication. They didn't just woke up one day and say, oh, let's try this antenna right here and try to talk to the guys of the other side of the world, right? They actually devise it this way to be able to communicate from those 2 points. And guess what? It worked. Because
So for
The Earth is
where
flat.
what was the name of the places again?
look
He
at
wants to know the locations, Jemsy.
look at I think it's Westfield, Massachusetts. No, let me look at it. Look at the first transatlantic radio communication, transatlantic, which is between the U.S. and Europe, New England and Scotland. You could find it on this Discord. It's gotta be somewhere, or you could find it on Google.
I think I found it.
And that's one example of many. Just letting you know.
But Pinky says that it's possible on a globe, right, Pinky?
Yeah, as well. It's also possible on a globe because it can bounce
okay.
the ionosphere.
Yeah, fair point.
But I'll
there you have
look
it.
this up. I mean, to see if maybe he has some evidence that it was direct line of sight, or maybe he was directing it. I don't know.
Let me see if I find it. Go ahead.
Well, but even if you're saying direct line of sight is a possibility, you still think it's going to happen on a globe, though, right? Even though you find that out, or will that debunk the idea that you're living on a curved surface?
So if he's directing the radio wave, so it's like facing towards the horizon, right? So it's line of sight. Then it's a narrow beam, which I don't think they even had in those days. But I don't even know if they could direct like radio waves in a certain direction, to be honest. But if they did that and they still got it, then that would, at 3,000 miles, that would definitely. I mean, not definitely, but it would.
All right,
go a long way to show that it's flat. But
okay. Well, so you're going to look at the information then, and then if that pans out, and if it does, then would you come back and say, well, guys, just because you show me this information, I'm really going to consider the Earth to be flat and stationary because of that fact?
Of course. I mean, I mean, just so you know, there's other stuff. So, for instance, I'd have to look at the exact distances, but there's diffraction around the horizon. But I think at 3,000 miles, that was almost certainly not going to have anything to do with it. So,
okay, so there would it could have to be only a line of sight. Is that what you're saying? Like you can't. There's not. What I'm trying to say is that there's not going to be an out to this understanding. You're going to be just like, okay, definitely flat and stationary if it's showing that we're traveling over 3,000 miles. Or are you going to say come back and say, well, diffraction and we got
3,000 miles, but not bouncing off the ionosphere somehow. That's what
you know that the bouncing of the ionosphere came like in the 1940s. Someone proposed that like decades after it was already accomplished. So the idea that the radio signals were being bounced off a layer above us was proposed, I think it was for over 40 years after the fact.
So I don't know. Like, I guess you're going to look at that information, and that's a good thing. Jemsy gave you a lot to look at. So now you got all that information to kind of go over. Pinky?
Yep.
All right. Well, that's good. I don't know if Jemsy, if you want to add more to that point.
Just adding to the conversation, Witsit is about to do a test in relation to this from Florida to Louisiana. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But
yeah, go on.
I want to correct that the first one was in 1902, the first transatlantic from Canada to the UK. That's what it says here in the Googles. But I know there's another one from New England to Scotland. So those are two examples right there, from Canada to UK, and then from New England to Scotland. So you're going to find multiple.
Pinky, write that down. Don't forget.
Oh, yeah.
He's giving the goods. All right. So, I mean, we want to continue the conversation, but we don't want to.
Yeah. Don't wait for me. Just,
Well, I mean, I want to make sure Jemsy's covered all his points because, one thing we want to do is make sure that you are not lost with what he's saying. And of course, it's important, right? For all of us. All right. So, I mean, you left at the last time you left. I mean, you left us, in the middle of Jedi actually talking to you. So I just want to see if Jedi is there, and maybe we can pick up where we left off and go from there.
Good afternoon. Where are we up to?
Well, we're gonna see if we can reconvene the conversation of where we last parted with Pinky when he left last. So, just pick up where we left off and see if we can cover some ground.
Was Pinky the guy who said scientific consensus?
Yeah. Glass of water, coming back, then he had to leave. That guy.
I get you. Do you understand, Pinky, why I jumped all over the phrase scientific consensus? Do you understand that?
So so let's just rehash what happened, right? So I was talking
Sure.
to someone about what was he talking about? Axial precession of the Earth, or like a 20...
Did you forget, Pinky?
No, I didn't.
Did you forget?
Like axial
Right.
progression of the Earth.
Okay.
As it goes over its like 20,000 year cycle, it kind of what's it called? Damn,
I don't know.
really
What is it
tired.
called?
The freaking
What is it called?
Gyroscopic precession, or it goes.
Oh, okay.
Wait, mayhem. You got to chill out for a bit. Like, I understand.
Sorry,
most
bro.
people
Sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
Seriously,
Sorry,
like most people in this chat disagree with me already. Like, you don't need to gang up on the one person who disagrees.
All right. I won't. I'll behave.
Sure. Yeah, and then there's another kind of sort of wobble that the Earth experiences called nutation or something like that. And I was just skimming over the what that meant, because that was the first time I've ever heard of it. And then someone said, "Oh, do you believe in nutation now?" And I said, yes, but what you have to understand about my beliefs is that I don't hold. There's very few beliefs that I would say I know for 100% certainty. Really, I see the world as more like a grayscale of beliefs. Like for instance, climate change. This seems pretty certain to me. Maybe different to some other of you.
Like you mean weather, right?
Oh yeah. No, anthropogenic climate change, right? Now there's some other stuff. Like for example, does my I don't actually know if, for instance, my car, my brother is here. So is his car in the driveway? I don't know. I would say that I have a very low probability, but it could be there. So really, I don't have anything to say about that. But there's other stuff that I know for, at much higher percentage.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask 2 questions? All right. Just really quickly, Jedi. I know you want just real quick, and then Jedi you can continue the conversation. All right. Oh, so we're talking on Discord right now, right? At the moment, Pinky, you and me, and everybody else in here. All right. Do you 100% know with all certainty that we're talking on Discord right now?
I would say what I know for certain is that there is a conscious being who is talking to someone on Discord in this moment. Now, I know this seems like I'm weaseling out of saying that I know it.
No. You go ahead and say how you want to. You go ahead. So we're not talking. Me and you, we're not. You're not certain we're talking on Discord. That's all I wanted to know right now.
Well, for instance, if you ever seen the movie The Matrix, you could. It could be something like that. I mean, but what I do know is, in this.
Hold on. Do we live in the Matrix?
I don't know. It seems like a very low chance for that, but I have no evidence. I would say.
Do we live in the physical and natural world where physical and natural laws apply, and we can know those things to be certain?
I would say I don't know about that. I mean, for instance,
you don't know about that. Hold on. For example, cause and effect relationships. Can we understand cause and effect relationships? As in the cause of things happening. Can we work with that and utilize that and build engines around that? And can we know that? For example.
Well, you can get more and more evidence as you test things again.
Yeah.
You can improve a certain causal.
Yeah.
And also, if you assume certain stuff, for instance, like if you assume, make lots of assumptions that, like you were saying, that the outside reality exists and all this, then you can assume things like, for instance, okay, when the sun goes down, it gets colder. If you understand the model. Actually, I shouldn't use that because then that's a flat Earth thing. How about like, if I turn the TV on, it gets louder. That's something like, okay, I understand the mechanism of how that works. Sound waves going through my speakers. So then that's assuming that they exist and all this stuff. Assuming that it's gonna,
Yeah. Toasters work and microwaves work, and we work within the physical natural world, and we can demonstrate cause and effect relationships, can't we? The reason why I'm trying to get back to this is because earlier in conversation with me that you run away from is you said the thing scientific consensus.
Yeah. So
I understand. Hold on.
All right. No, you go.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You go.
Thank you. No, that's fine. That's fine. You said scientific consensus. Consensus, can we agree that that means to agree on something?
Yeah, let's just say what scientific.
Awesome.
Forget about reality and everything. Assuming we live in this world,
No, I
scientific
don't want to forget about it.
That's just the majority of scientists overwhelmingly seem to agree with something.
Awesome. Right. And within science, because you said science, that would mean an experiment has taken place, right?
So the thing about science is you don't necessarily need to do an experiment where you're the one designing it. Just so you know, like you can do science on stuff like, for instance, if coronavirus, for instance, you're not doing it, you're just observing. It's called observational science, right? You're just seeing a bunch of data and you go, all right, I predict that the R value or the replication value of certain viruses is this, and I'm going to do some basically you're doing an observation, but you can think of that as an experiment. It's just an experiment you didn't. Just to make sure we're on the same page here.
Hold on. You understand what the scientific method is, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. And you understand that things that do not follow the scientific method that are not science are classed as pseudoscience, right?
I think pseudoscience
you understand
logic is poor, so yeah, I agree with that.
Pseudoscience is declared to be when science has actually not taken place. So science being the method where you demonstrate physically a cause and effect relationship within an experiment, that would be the thing that you would agree on to have a consensus about it, because you physically demonstrated something to be true. Now, with an observational assumption, or observational science, as you said, we started using the word assumption quite a bit. If we assume things to be true, we see that's already going to start falling apart, isn't it? It's the assumptions that we need to take care of.
Just forget about the assumptions then. I'll just say I'm not assuming anything weird,
Awesome. So let me get to this question. Would you agree that scientific consensus says that science proves the shape of the Earth?
Yes, I'd say so.
Awesome. So then you would be able to give me a scientific experiment that proves the shape of the object, the Earth.
Not necessarily. Do you understand why? Not necessarily.
Why not? Yeah, well, I do. I'm wondering if you do.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so for instance, if I say I just like a regular person, I believe that DNA exists because it seems like a lot of medical treatments are based on DNA. I got taught it in school. It's the scientific. I see things like CRISPR on the news. DNA, DNA fingerprinting to find criminals.
The question was,
stuff, right? So wait, let's just listen. I know. What your question?
So answer the question then.
Right. So,
is there a scientific experiment that proves the shape of the object, the Earth?
Well, basically, what happened is you said, "Fine, then tell me what the exact experiment is." Now, I don't need to know what the exact experiment is when it comes to the DNA, for instance. I don't have to give you line for line the molecular biology of how they know what DNA looks like and all this stuff. I know it's a double helix. I don't know how they. Well, actually, I do know how they figured it out. Apparently, double X-ray.
I'm to ask the question again, and maybe you can stop talking about this and listen to the question.
You didn't ask the question. Well, I'm responding to what you said when you said that. Give me an experiment.
I'll ask again because you're starting to talk a lot and it's starting to annoy me. Is there a scientific experiment that proves the shape of the object, the Earth? Being as we understand that science deals with cause and effect, I'll remind you about that bit. Is there a scientific experiment that proves the shape of an object?
Yes.
Really? So an object, a concrete noun, nothing happening, you think you want to be able to find the cause of that? Awesome. Would you agree that to find out the shape of an object, you would observe and measure it and not demonstrate a cause and effect relationship experiment? As in, science would not be the tool that you would use to demonstrate the shape of an object. Science deals with cause and effect.
I don't agree with that because what you could
okay.
Can I tell you why though?
Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So like the ancient Greeks did experiments with these sticks in the ground about finding the radius of Earth. For instance,
Those are some pretty smart guys, man. Those ancient Greeks. I'm sorry.
or even just going back to the DNA example, the experiment that they used to figure that out was X-ray diffraction.
Ancient Greeks knew about DNA. I didn't know. That's a new one on me. Go ahead, Pinky.
There's no need to troll unless you actually don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm just trying to. I'm following. I'm just trying to behave, dude. I'm listening to what you're saying.
Wait,
I'm
anyway,
lost. Are you talking about ancient Greeks knowing DNA? Is that?
Anyway, Jedi. So if you
I might have missed something. Sorry. Go ahead.
To know the shape of DNA being a double helix, you can do an experiment to do that. Like with the Earth, for instance, I think there's other stuff you can. I think you can, if you fly on the surface of an
Take
Earth,
a deep breath, man.
Because
you'll get through it.
Because of spherical trigonometry, it'll be different than if it was flat. There's lots of experiments you can do. You can also just look.
All right, hold on. I've had enough.
Slow down.
The reason why I'm bringing this up, mate, is because I've listened to you chat a long time, and I really don't think you understand what science is. Do you know what a DV is? A dependent variable. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
What is it?
Yeah, in a scientific experiment, it's the variable that you measure the response of if you change the independent variable.
Yeah, so it's the thing happening, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So in ancient Greeks, Aristophanes and a stick in the fucking floor, it's the dependent variable.
Well, you just use let's use the spherical geometry one because that one.
Just trying to get you to build that. You said science, and I'm trying to show you that maybe you don't understand what science is because you brought up scientific consensus earlier and you believe that shit. That's fine, but if you want to believe something, it will be demonstrated to be true. According to the scientific method, when we're dealing with cause and effect relationships, to say that there's a scientific experiment that proves the shape of an object is fucking redundant because science isn't the tool that you would use to do that. As I've elucidated and tried to demonstrate to you, science is a cause and effect within the physical and natural world-based thing. It's not maths and objects, mate.
So there's two things I disagree with you on. The first one is that science needs an experiment with a dependent variable. You can just do observational science, like for instance,
observational science,
like astronomers, for instance, can say stuff about the universe.
This is why. Hold on, sorry. This is why it's classed as pseudoscience because as soon as you said astronomers, you realised that there's no way that you're going to be manipulating your independent variable in an experiment. What you're going to do is you're going to look up in the sky, and because you think that you're living on the ball, everything you look up in the sky is going to be applied to that spinning ball in a vacuum space. So that's the assumption. This is why observational science is shit and declared as pseudoscience, because you can just work on assumptions. Begging the question fallacies, for example. See, the scientific method is logic-based, where you can physically demonstrate the cause of something happening. To measure the shape of the Earth, science isn't the tool that you would use to do that. So like I said, I don't think you know what science is. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm literally here to help. Because somewhere you've been manipulated, my friend.
Wait, so is what it's called is an observational study. So if you don't want, and I made a mistake bringing up astronomy because for obvious reasons, but let's just bring it back to Earth.
You're fine. If you can make all the mistakes you want.
No,
you can make all the mistakes you want. It's fine. Keep going.
If you do an observational study, you see where different governments have banned smoking, so you know the incidence of smoking, and then you can figure out what's what the effects of that are. Although I suppose that would have a dependent variable because you would measure things like.
Dude, you're trying to. Why have you now? You're 24 hours into trying to complicate things. I don't get it. Don't you remember yesterday when the whole pseudoscience thing was addressed?
Well, actually, but more importantly, Jedi, I disagree.
But that wasn't Jedi. But you just you only like to talk about what you want to talk about. Got it. Noted.
Yeah, that's what I was listening to. But that's why he wants to just talk whatever he wants to talk about. So
and I'm trying to show him that
go ahead,
what he's talking about is nonsense. I'm just trying to show him what he's talking about is nonsense. And again, not being rude. You said scientific consensus. What the fuck is that?
Wait, no. What I wanted to talk to you about, Jedi, is that you said that if I am using scientific consensus as evidence to believe something, that now I have to give you a study or like explain to your, like, because you said, what is the study then? What is the experiment that they're using to prove this? But I don't need one of those, because what I'm basically doing is an argument to authority or expert, and I'm assuming that if they're competent, and if most of the humans are competent, they'll design experiments properly. I don't have to know them. Do you get that?
Oh,
Yeah, I get. So you've got a trust in authority, basically. What I'm trying to point out to you is, with a little bit of knowledge and personal understanding, that authority isn't giving you the evidence that they have a consensus about. They just declare, based on that presupposition, that the Earth is already a ball spinning in the vacuum of space, that the Earth is a ball spinning in the vacuum of space, and that everything will be applied to that, according to stories that they tell you. But according to science, there's no scientific experiment that obviously can't be the shape of the Earth. Our question here, then, is how have they demonstrated this to be true? The question is actually, how have they measured the curvature, drop over distance, or R value of the Earth in the first place? Do you know if and how they've done that? And have you been asked this question before?
So the fact that you're moving on to that leads me to believe that we still disagree about something. My argument, basically, I can explain my argument in a syllogism, which would probably be
You
better.
can disagree. You can disagree all you want with a method, mate. You can bash your head against a brick wall all you want. I'm just telling you what it is.
So this is my syllogism. So you tell me where my experiment has to be in here, right? So my syllogism is experts on so in general, at a scientific consensus of a certain level, experts on a subject are usually correct. That's part one, right? Part two, or premise two, is experts on the subject have reached a consensus that this thing is true. So then my conclusion is the thing that they said is probably the thing that they said is true is probably correct. That's all it is, right? I don't need to know anything about.
Yeah, it's based on probability, right?
Stop the cat.
It's based on probability, Pinky?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't know. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
pretty religious of you, Pinky.
And the thing is that's not an error in reasoning.
It's not an error in reasoning. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's pretty. You could just,
let's try another area of reasoning. Which one would you like to pick on? Would you like to pick on the triangle, or would you like to pick on second law of thermodynamics? Which one do you want to pick on?
Okay. We can shift the topic because you feel like. I mean, I've been made fun of for this whole scientific consensus thing. So let's just get to let's just finish it before we move on to something else, right? It seems.
You can go ahead and you got control of this, Pinky. You go ahead, man. You tell them like it is. You tell us where you want to go. We'll go wherever you want. How about that? Is that cool?
Well, how about this?
How about you tell us where? You come to our forum and you tell us what to do and what's what, and we'll follow your example, right? Because we're gonna follow you, Pinky. Is that cool?
Well, just because everyone seems to disagree with me about this scientific consensus.
Oh, really? Pinky. Why the fuck do you think that is, Pinky?
Well,
it's because you don't know what science.
Maybe it's because you don't know
what science is.
Jesus.
Perhaps. Just saying.
I don't think a scientific consensus is an appeal to authority, to experts, right? I know it.
Thank you for pointing out your fallacy. Thank you for pointing that out.
So the reason it's not fallacious is I'm not committing an error in reasoning here, right? An error in reasoning would be to say, because these people are usually correct, that means this is true, which is like in terms of.
That's what you just said.
That's exactly what you just said.
The error in reasoning is the fact that Jedi asked you a simple question and you turned it into a fucking 15-minute conversation about what? Dude.
Well, I mean, on top of that,
I'm gonna go get some tea. I'll be back, bros.
This question, this conversation didn't need to be that long, to be honest. But yeah,
but you just made it. You made it that long, bro. Like you just turned it into a fucking long-winded Pinky Bandinski fucking speech-a-roo. Like what the fuck? They're like, no.
I think
we didn't interrupt this time, and we're behaving at the time. But now, fuck that, because you're saying, well, I'm gonna kind of like say what's what in here, and you guys, just follow along.
Hey, Pinky.
Excuse me,
Pinky. Pinky, may I have just like 10 seconds?
Yes.
A lot of the things you say, it sounds like you're echoing Michio Kaku, who says, leaps of logic, seat of the pants. You know what he also says? No one in my field uses the scientific method.
Hey, where's this nonsense screenshot you just posted? Where's that from? What's the source?
I'll send both links.
Why don't you just tell him, bro? Like, why did you?
Do you get that, Pinky? The guy that you're echoing acknowledges that they've abandoned the scientific method.
You probably don't know who that is.
He's on Wikipedia.
Yeah, he's on something else, bro. You're talking you might as well talk to a brick wall, dude. He's doing something else.
And the priest that he's coincidentally in line with.
Yeah, we agree with you, bro, but he's not listening to you. He's actually on Wikipedia right now, messing around.
He no longer.
Yeah, he detaches from.
It's good. I'm glad this is 24/7 because this Pinky is brilliant.
Yeah, there you go. An editorial staff. Like I knew it was some BS where you have this fallacious, non-fallacious, and that there's the word definitive in there.
Yeah. So
where are we going now?
Well, we're exposing Pinky and his fallacious reasoning, but he says that's not fallacious reasoning. There, and he just posted. He could have just said, "I don't know why you couldn't have just said that," and then went ahead and put the link in, Pinky. Now that you put the link, you're just exposed anyway. So it's like you just delayed the process. Why did you just tell us? So I
don't know. Anyway,
you don't know.
I think.
Anyway,
you guys don't seem very enlightened. Like it's just
enlightened.
Whoa, dude, buddy, listen.
And everyone else.
Listen, Pinky. What I've heard the entire time, every single time you've had a discussion in here, you're just getting dunked on. You're lost in every conversation. You never respond directly to people's points. You drag them through the mud. You talk forever and stumble around and never answer direct question. Every time someone asks you a question, you respond without answering the question. So the fact that you would even dare utter that it's somehow the other people's ineptitude is wild.
Well, I mean, I've seen the way you guys don't understand basic things like scientific consensus and stuff. I mean, I don't mean to insult you, but
hold on,
you guys,
Mayhem and everyone else.
You guys thinking of dunking on me isn't a big deal.
Pinky,
yeah, sure.
Pinky. I've tried to explain to you what pseudoscience is. That which doesn't follow the scientific. For you to declare that observational science follows the scientific method and is something to be trusted and outside of assumptions and begging the question is fucking stupid. For you to, appeal to this authority without a basic understanding of this is kind of worrying. Now, if you want to move the subject along, mate, that's absolutely fine. We can put a pin in this and probably circle back to it a few hundred times later. When we bash you around the head that you don't know what science is, that's fine. Do you know what a triangle is?
I mean, I've already explained why
Did Pinky just call us dumb, though? Pinky.
Yeah. All right. So
did you just call us dumb, bro?
Listen, at this point, if you guys are gonna get all uppity because you disagree with me, I mean,
bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Look, did you just call us all dumb in this chat? Is that what you're saying? We're all dumb.
Well, I mean, I really don't want to be
yeah, go ahead. No, be that. Go ahead, be that.
Mayhem. Let's ask this simple question.
Well, it's not,
three simple questions.
There's something good.
It will be.
Listen, I'm going to go. Jed, it was very nice. No, it was very nice to talk to you. Yes.
Pinky, don't run away like a little girl. Don't.
Running away.
It's just you guys don't know. Good. Do you know what a triangle is? Do you know what a triangle is? 3 straight lines meeting at a vertices where you can read 3 interior angles reaching 180 degrees. Do you know what a triangle is?
Yes.
Awesome. Have you had a conversation about triangles in this Discord server before?
Yes. Anyway.
Awesome. So you know that my next. So you know. Hold on. Don't run away.
I'm not running away. What part of this
you're going to run away from this after declaring that we're stupid, and this is going to point out how silly you are. I've demonstrated on one occasion you don't know what science is, and I'm going to show you don't know what a triangle is. If you want to run away from that, sunshine, that's absolutely fair. But I will be here, and next time you come back, I'm going to ask you the question again. What's a fucking triangle? Do you know how to measure an angle if one of those lines is curved?
Okay, it seems like a good place to end it, but.
Hey, Pinky, before you go, listen, dude, I know we have a little history here, but why don't you just relax for a second, okay? Here's the thing. Why don't you actually acknowledge what's being said to you and just not wait to spew the next line of your rhetoric? I realize you think we've all lived under a rock our whole life, but we too were indoctrinated with this mythos that you have such enthusiasm for. So don't take it personally.
Listen,
Realize that everyone had a globe in their classroom, and just, dude, relax.
Do we know more about it than you do, dude?
But listen,
we all know more about it than you do. Do you understand? Do you realize that?
But keep in mind, I haven't been insulting any of you guys, trying to troll any of you guys.
I know, Pinky. You're just a nice.
Virtue signaling and
You're such a nice,
dude.
such a nice guy, Pinky.
Pinky, will you answer my question, please? Do you realize that we all know more about your belief than you do? Yes or no?
I don't think that's the case at all.
Okay, what's the core model? How does the magnetic field work on your globe model?
Basically, you've got the core of the Earth that spins, and that creates sort of a dynamo, I think it's called, that creates a magnetic field.
No, the core doesn't create the magnetic field in your model. So, yeah, it's the outer liquid core that spins, and then it generates convection current that supposedly generate a magnetic field via the electric fields.
Oh, the outer core. Oh, well.
Okay, yeah. Okay, look, this is what I'm saying to you,
you got him. You got him. Wow.
Listen. I could ask you 50 questions like that you're not going to know as much about as us. So the irony of you pretending that somehow we're like intellectually inferior is really wild. Like,
sure,
dude,
no, you're very knowledgeable on like stuff about the Earth and stuff. I'm just talking about like logically following from one spot to another. In my opinion, I could be wrong. It doesn't seem like you guys can follow the plot all that well.
That's what's up, bro. Pinky, can I ask you one more question? Pinky,
but maybe this is the last one, and then I'm going to go. You get the final word.
Whatever.
You get the final word.
All right, you believe in the solar system, right? And you believe that the Earth is a ball that flies around the sun. Can you give us any exclusive evidence that the Earth moves around the sun?
What do you mean by exclusive?
Meaning it can only be explained by the Earth moving around the sun?
Oh, in that case, I'd say probably the Voyager probe looking at it. But there's also, that'd be the best one.
Okay, even if the Voyager probe was real, it doesn't show that the Earth moves around the sun. So you don't even understand the kinematic and dynamic equivalence of your model. This is what I'm saying. Like, you literally don't understand any of this, bro. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
I do. You probably already know this, but look up parallax would be a good one. Look up retrograde. I mean, of course,
you're teaching us.
So
you're teaching us.
No. You guys, I said you guys already know that.
None of that's exclusive to the Earth moving around the sun. According to your own model, there's a kinematic equivalence. So you can explain aberration, retrograde, and parallax, Lagrange points, all of that with a geocentric Earth, a geocentric model. According to your own model, there's an equivalence principle and a covariance principle. There's a kinematic and dynamic equivalence. So the reality is you have no actual evidence that the Earth is moving around the sun, but you just blindly believe that, even though all the evidence shows us that the sun moves? No,
I don't. There's other stuff, like for instance, if you understand more about like through a telescope what the sun is and what you're seeing is a giant piece of math, and you understand the gravitational constant.
Oh, you understand what the sun is, Pinky? What's the sun, Pinky?
No, wait, it's even worse. It's even worse. Even if what you think the sun is real, according to your own model, it still doesn't mean that the Earth goes around it. That's only if you only account for the local solar system and not the rest of the masses in the universe. And then, in fact, you would have an inertial set of forces, centrifugal, Coriolis, and Euler forces that would actually cause angular momentum of the cosmos to have everything, including the sun, move around the Earth, even if it were a bigger mass, according to both Einsteinian and Newtonian mechanics. It's called relational mechanics. So you just don't know anything.
Sure.
So, but I am so sure.
All right, we'll talk about this one next time. Sorry if I insulted you guys. I was just telling the truth. But anyway, see you guys later.
I was just telling the truth.
You just got dumped on.
Why are you running?
His backhanded slight right now is him being nice. Because he's like, I've just been trying to be nice in the conversation. And his backhanded slight when he fucking left this chat was, well, I'm sorry that I was just being that way to you, but, sorry, you guys are pretty dumb. Like,
well, you put it in context, the definition of nice, the etymology is like ignorance, not knowing. So, yeah, he was being nice in relation to the topics. Ignorant, not knowing, nescious.
What a guy.
Sorry, I love to do that with him with the sun. I think it's fun.
He'll be back.
Yeah, if we just let him beg the fucking question, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Like, even when you let him beg the question, it still doesn't work. That's what's so funny about it.
I hate when they tout they're more intellectually superior than all of us, and you just come in here like, well, I would say it, but you guys wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. Like, what the fuck, dude? Shut up.
He basically just agrees with the scientific consensus, but doesn't know why.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even what it is.
Spartans! What is your profession?
See, old friend, I brought more soldiers than you did.